Hello and welcome to this short tutorial where we're going to see how can we use CityEngine and Visual CGA to create urban design projects and even big master plan developments like this one. This video is going to be focused on the user perspective only, so if you want to get more details about how Visual CGA works and how to create your own rules, I encourage you to watch the other two videos available on this topic. Now, a quick note about the requirements. For Visual CGA to work, you would need to have CityEngine 2023.1 or later installed on your computer. Of course, you would need this scene, the example VCGA Playground. And if you want the streets to display correctly, you would need the example complete streets also present on your workspace. If you don't know how to do that, just go to help, download tutorials and examples, and here you would find both of them. So yeah, if you want to see how this cool scene has been put together, just stick around until the end of the video. All right, so before we start working on the massing, the starting point would be always the streets. So once you have your street network laid out the way you want to have it, you can just go on and activate the blocks and start dropping rules on them. For this example, we deliver up to 10 VCGA rules for massing, and the way they work is very similar as you would do with normal CGA rules. You just pick them and drag them directly onto the shapes, and the block will generate some massing. You can then go to the inspector attributes and play with all the values to shape the massing in the way you would need it. A good practice to work with this is working with patterns. And what I did here is basically I created 10 shapes, square shapes of 100 by 100 meters, and I applied my 10 rules to them so I can work in a very visual way and just pick the source shape, copy rule attributes, and then paste them on the block I want to have them. So this is a very quick way to have an idea what are you going to apply on your blocks. A very quick way to generate massing for the whole development in general would be using this rule, the mass random perimeter blocks for blocks VCGA rule. This would be this one here. And what this rule does is generating a perimeter block subdivided in different parts where we can play with ranges, randomized ranges for the height, the width, and the length of the different parts. If we apply this rule to the blocks where we want to have buildings on, normally you would just pick them. I have already a selection set prepared for that. So those are the shapes where I want buildings on. So we just drag and drop the rule on them. And this is how it works. Bam, you get your massing right away. You would like to play a couple of times with the seed, just generating a couple of times so you get to a result that it's more or less suiting the idea that you had in mind. And then you go to the parameters to the right and start playing with the length of the blocks, the gap, the height, etc. We can just see it very quickly. Let's put this to the default again. With the height, it's very easy to understand. How can we pump down the maximum value of this range? So we fixed the maximum height of our development to 49 meters. Let's put it to 50. A little bit less, maybe. This is probably the best thing. And then again, we can play with different parameters like the peak or the uniformness. So our buildings are gonna look alike in terms of height. So you just have to play a little bit with the parameters in order to get something that it's more or less suiting your ideas. Of course, you can go one by one and play with the seed again a couple of times until you get something that is more suited to every block. In this case, personally, I see that the width is a little bit too much, so I can reduce the maximum width of my blocks a little bit and then get something that it's working better for this particular block. So yeah, this is the way you generate mass in a very fast way. And let me select again my buildings. Another thing that you can do very quickly with this rule is to add some green space into the remaining in-between space. You can switch it to color, so you generate immediately something that it's green, or you could just switch to natural green space, which is a little bit more like a wild. So you can play with different options here. Formal garden is like the usual hedges and paths kind of garden. A very schematic one that I personally like to work with these volumetric studies is the footpaths and trees. And then, of course, for each of them, you can go down on the inspector and just play with the different kind of trees that you want to put on them, density, etc. You can play with a lot of parameters here just to achieve the kind of trees that you want to put on your development. Of course, you can go on a single parcel here and then in a single block and apply another kind of rule. Like this, for example, is the tower and slab. And for that kind of rule, I like to switch on the handles probably. And this is a very easy way to play with the height parameter. You can just go there and adjust the height of the tower or the slab in a very quick way. You can also play with the start position of the whole development. Where do you want your tower to be, and the length, etc. Slab length, let's put it a little bit longer like this. Then you would get a perimeter block with a tower. And again, you can play with the start position to put it on the position that you had in mind for this tower. So this is the way we can shape our development step by step or in a general fashion with the random rule. However, when working on this kind of master plans is not only about the looking, but you would also like to know how it performs in terms of density metrics. For that, you can always switch on the dashboard and you will get information updated in real time about how uh, your draft is performing all the time. For that, you would have a column to the left where you see the GFA, FAR, and coverage values for the whole development. And to the right, you would see the information just relative to the selected blocks. So in this case, for example, if we start changing things on our viewport, you see how the numbers update in real time. So this is a good way to keep under control the numbers of our development, and this is important for every kind of master plan that you would like to work on. So now that we know how it works, we can go on and shape our blocks in the whole development, testing different ideas or concepts that we might have in mind. For example, applying the random rule for the areas that we only have a rough idea about how they should look like, and using any of the other typologies for the blocks where we know exactly how they should look like. Always keeping an eye on the dashboards so we have an idea of the impact of our actions in terms of metric values. And that's it. We play with it until we are satisfied with the result and we get to the final version. Okay, so now we are done with the editing and we can say that we are satisfied with the result. So this would be our final draft for the master plan. Now, at this point, I guess we can select the streets and generate them so you can get to see the example with the nice complete streets generated into it. And at this point, I would like to show you the last thing that is part of this demo, which is how can we go beyond the massing studies and start getting into the architectural visualization field. If we have a look to this typology in specific, we can click here and open the VCGA canvas and have a look to the nodes that are putting together this massing rule. We have just a bunch of components together to generate this specific typology. But if you go to the project folder, subfolder, complete buildings, we can apply this rule onto our building just like this. And this is a specific rule that we prepared to work with this typology. And it would generate a timber facade on this typology. Let's have a look to how does it look like right now. So that's very important for the designers and planners that they can at some point go beyond the massing and start thinking about how the buildings would look like in a more detailed way, so people can get themselves an idea how would it feel to really be here in this urban landscape with more detailed and specific designs for the facades. Of course, this building, let's just open the rule instead of this facade design. Now we can get to see the graph of it. As you see, we have much more nodes as before. The green part is the part that is dealing with the massing. That would be exactly the graph that we were seeing before we jumped into the facade design. And we can use different colors to organize our VCGA canvas. In this case, the yellow, the blue, and the purple colors are the parts that are dealing with different configurations of the floors, the ground floor, the regular floor, and the last floor. And the gray colors are reserved for the materials, but of course you can change that anytime. And this is just a suggestion of this first example. Just for you to be aware, we still can change many parameters of this building as we did before. It's going to react a little bit slower now that we have the facade applied, but you can still play with all the attributes that you got to modify before, like playing with the height with using the handles of the slab and the tower, just like this. Or you can go directly into the inspector and change the setbacks, the step backs, the width of the slabs, basically anything that you could change before, you can still do it here. But on top of that, we can promote some attributes that are unique to the facade rule and put it at the top of the inspector. And here we can play with different attributes that are unique to this facade rule. For example, with this we can change the texture of the rooftop. We can even create some solar panels on top of it. So we can create a green facade and environmentally friendly designs. And another example would be this border height thickness. We can pump it to 1 meter, and you can see right now how this little beton concrete border increased on size. But of course, we are in CityEngine, and here everything is procedural. So at any time, we could also modify the streets or the network. You can see here, how can I make bigger my block here? And in a matter of seconds, the building would be generated again at the new position with the new facade. And that's pretty awesome. How can we move around the nodes, and either the massing and or the facades on that massing will adapt in almost in real time to the new position of our network. So yeah, this is basically what we had for you on this user perspective demo. I hope you find it interesting, and don't forget, this is CityEngine, so the best thing that you could do is just jump on the other tutorials and learn more about how these rules can be put together. And in the end, you can have the freedom of designing your own rules and your own facades and your own massing typologies. This is the whole point of CityEngine being so open. And don't forget that this is also a beta. This is a beta version, so expect the whole catalog of massing rules and facades to grow in time, and you will get much more possibilities to customize your designs in the future. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for new updates in the future.